is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Off the Rails Friday. Everything and anything can happen on this show, including a couple of visitors today crashing us.
I can barely see it today.
With good reason. Mike Bolt, Hall of Famer and the keeper of the cup. Wow. Lord Stanley is in the house.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us. Nick, I actually came and saw you. We wanted to make sure you saw the cup. You're the only guy in this building that's got their name on it, so we got to make sure we see one winner while we're here.
That seems fair. I have one of my three names on it. Bourne is on there.
Oh, yeah, Bourne is definitely on there. Yeah, it's just,
not my own.
Yeah, your dad's first name.
Let's welcome in the crew, Derek Brandeo, Jennifer Rolnick, and producer Sammy. How many pictures with the cup, Sammy?
Multiple.
You get enough? You good?
A couple selfies for the couple group chats for the boys. They're all fired up about it, but yeah.
Lots of jam, eh? Like you've seen it growing up, and yeah, some like us dreamt about it, winning it. Not everybody gets a chance at that. We've seen Hall of Famers spend 15, 20 years. It is a hard trophy to win, Mike. You know that better than anybody.
Well, actually, no, you know it better than anybody. You could be, Nick, I just show up after it's won and he'd see all the cuts and bruises on the boys and hear the stories about, what it was like going through the 4 rounds. But no, you're the one that can tell the story about what it's like to go through the trenches and battle with your guys. And I mean, I have no idea. And you can tell the people at home that, what it's like to hoist it. I mean, I hear it's so surreal that you don't really kind of remember it, / you don't remember the weight. It feels like a light as a feather.
Yeah,
I mean,
all of it.
It always feels like 35 pounds to me. I mean, I never came close. I never got anywhere near where you got. So, no, I don't know what it's like. I know it's the hardest trophy to win as a fan of sports and watching a lot of sports around the world. I do believe it is the hardest trophy to win, and I think it takes the biggest toll on your body physically and mentally, too.
One thing before, we brought you on, we were talking a little bit about like the days of the cup and when my dad won it and his best buddy, Clark Gillies, they just had it on the back porch of their house in Long Island for a couple of days. You were saying, a sad day today, Guy Lafleur, everyone's been talking about him, that Guy was one of the first guys to take it, but maybe literally took it?
Yeah, literally took it. I mean, Guy in 1979 actually took it, stole it out of the office, like literally snuck in, stole it out of the office, and was going down home to have a big family party at his house. And they actually did it on the front lawn for neighbors and everybody could come over. He even got a phone call from somebody in upper management, said, "You need to bring that, or you have the cup." He goes, "No, I don't." "Yes, you do. And we know you have it. You need to bring it back." He goes, "I'll see you tomorrow." And that's kind of like, in some ways, like, the tradition got evolved. If you talk to guys like, like Gordie Howe's and the like the 72 Bruins, they never got 5 minutes with it. There is even players that never even touched it on the ice.
Yeah. And
so, a guy like Guy, and then, of course, your dad and Gillies and the Islanders, having it around Long Island. And then, you go up to the 94 Rangers. It was all over New York. Guys took it outside of New York. And there were a lot of unbelievable things done with the cup. And then there were some things, Nick might be able to tell the stories better.
Wow.
But 94, I mean, look, here's the thing. The guys can't keep an eye on it. There's no security. They're getting mobbed when you're out in the bars in New York because they want to be around the players. The cup's not getting the proper thing. And so accidents happen. And so the league decided, hey, let's put some rules and regulations with it. Every guy in the organization gets a day with it. Players, trainers, coaches, and upper management. Everybody's part of the hockey operation. So guys like Guy and guys like Nick and the Rangers and even the Islanders and the Oilers, of course, too, and Pittsburgh evolved into what the tradition is today. And it's maybe one of the coolest traditions in sports. I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years. And so guys that are now winning it were babies when I started. And so they've always known if they get to the NHL and win the cup that they get a day. So it's something they said they've thought about for a long time, even through their childhood.
When I look at it today, and I think, Sammy, you sent out a note earlier today that the cup was going to be there. And, I said, that's nice. I mean, I was a little reluctant even to want to take a picture, to be honest with you.
I know you were. What? What's going on?
Well, first of all, I mean, I did it because you guys wanted it.
Yes, thank you.
We
did.
And that's a keeper for you guys. But, I mean, I've seen it, right? I've saw it moments after winning a historic Game 7. I saw it with 1.5 million people, Broadway Avenue. I saw it at the China Club with rock stars and actors and Derek Jeter and the New York Yankees. I've seen it with mobsters and hookers and drug dealers.
Okay, now we're talking.
and I've also seen it at the Hospital for Sick Kids. And I've seen it, in the Danforth, filled with ouzo, doing shots with my closest friends and my family. I've seen it at its best. I've seen it at its worst. And
how does it feel now?
With all due respect, you see it now, and it's like.
What, being by me does not give it the same gravitas?
No, but those memories are so locked in right now, and if you draw too close to it, then all of a sudden this whole kind of wave of feeling would come, and I'm just too exhausted to go through it all over again.
Yeah, fair enough. I still remember one of the first times we saw each other when we first met. I remember we were on a golf course, and I remember I was just in the case, and you were coming up, and I'm like, Nick, come on, see your name. And I remember you touching your name and thinking, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was my first memory of you with the cup.
And we've had, of course, a history over the years since then. You guys are phenomenal. And I will say this, that, whether it's Mike or anyone else, Phil, anyone else, there is a membership when you've won this that is for a lifetime. And Mike proved that to me years ago when I was flying home from the All-Star game in Minnesota. He had mentioned that he had a few hours when we land. Do I want the cup to go to my house?
Yeah. Wow.
And I called my wife up and I said, you're not going to believe this, but and my wife and kids weren't around when I won, obviously. So it's like, I'm bringing the Stanley Cup home.
Just sitting in your house.
And I had
so a context in that setting, like it is here.
I had a 35 by 50 ice arena in my backyard with 4-foot boards, the real deal. And by the time I went home, there was a lineup around the block. That's how quickly word got out.
Yeah. This is before social media.
Right. That's straight word of mouth. People calling people.
Text me. I'm on the ice with like what seemed like 100 kids skating around my backyard with the Stanley Cup.
That's a complete trip, man. I can't even imagine. So the tour it's on now then, Mike, what's the life of the Stanley Cup? So this is the real Stanley Cup. There's a replica?
Yeah, there's a replica that sits on display at the Hall of Fame when this one's away. The home is the Hall of Fame. The replica got built in 93 when we opened up our new facility at Yonge and Front. And but we only bring the official one. We call it the presentation. This is the one that Nick had on the ice along with Stamkos last year and everybody in between and everybody even before 94. This is it. This is the bad boy that they touch and hoist and drink out of.
And so now you're taking it to just around on sort of a pre-playoffs promotional.
Yeah, we're on a little bit of a media tour. Heading out tomorrow to Western United States. I'll be in Vancouver, Washington to do a Hockey Fights Cancer and then a little playoffs thing. And then I got to go down to Atlanta for TNT and then we're going to the White House on Monday with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, yeah, the White House, no big deal.
Is there anything you can do just to kind of keep it in Canada this year? Anything at all? Like you've enjoyed a lot of sun the last few springs. Can you just leave the sunshine south of the border this year?
I'd like to bring the sunshine up here, but I'd like to work up here. So, yes, I'm not just saying anybody that's in the playoffs and the Canadian teams, we'd love to have the cup up in Canada for sure. I mean, it's been a long time and but it's a hard trophy to win. And when you only got 7 teams competing for it in Canada and, you got a lot more down in the United States, the odds are against the Canadian teams. But, hey, look, Nick, I would love in all my years, I've never worked with a Canadian team. I've done a few events with them. But to have a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup, I'd like to see what that's like. I think it would be really interesting and different than, south of the border. And nothing against the teams south of the border. They worked their butts off to get it. And it's been so long since it's been won in Canada.
All right, listen, I know we got to let you go here, but just one quick mention. My book that I had out called Undrafted tells a lot of Stanley Cup stories, including ours. I didn't misspell your last name. That is on Simon and Schuster. They told me we have people that will make sure that everything's spelled correctly, and
it's all good. It's not. It's not the first. Look, Nick, I've been called worse in the media and the print and everything like that. I was just, I was laughing when we've known each other, and I'm like, what the?
Well, listen, Islanders is misspelled on the Stanley Cup in 80-81, so mistakes happen. All right,
exactly. Guys, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Mike Bolt, Hockey Hall of Fame.
Leave the cup.
Keeper of the cup. Yeah, you can leave it here if you want.
We'll just hang on to this.
I could start getting in party mode pretty quickly here.
You got ouzo in your bag?
The juices are starting to flow again here.
Oh,
thanks again, Mike.
It was a nice little visit, don't you think?
I mean, what an unbelievable start to the show. So what do you think, Toronto Maple Leafs, fellas?
Seeing that just honestly, like when I walked in and looked at it, and Kyper, I understand what you're saying. You know, like you laid out, you get to hang out with Jeter, and you're at the China Club.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying though, it's so emotional that now that I've even talked about it for like 5 minutes.
It's tiring.
It's now I'm like, I feel it all over again. Right?
It's like the literal ring in Lord of the Rings. It's like the power of the precious. It's like you're just like,
I know.
But it just
leave it.
Seeing it makes me feel ways. Like being that close to it and looking at it and
Makes you feel what?
Just makes me feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know how to explain how it makes me feel, but it gives me the tinglies. I get all fired
Sammy,
up.
It changed my life, and it changes anyone's life from the moment you lift it over your head. And the perception out there that you are a winner, that you know what it takes, that you've seen it, that you've lived it. And that's the part that you love the most, that it will change the way you feel about yourself the rest of your life.
It is crazy going into the postseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs team we've been talking about all year and thinking about how differently the rest of the lives of the people involved would be if they could win that thing. If they just win that prize, win a hockey tournament. Yeah, we all won a couple hockey tournaments in our day. Like it would be, imagine what this city would look like. And I know, Sam, you rarely let yourself have that moment.
No, I don't even go there. How about a round?
You do have to.
Allow yourself to think about it.
Yes, there's the visualization thing, right? There's the pictures in your mind.
Manifested. You
have to believe in that. And there needs to be a picture of it when you walk into the dressing room, because that's the ultimate goal here.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to clarify, we did not touch it this time. Do you touch it now? You're fine? You just touch it whenever? You're good?
As long as my name's on it.
I still have a fantasy that I'm going to end up like somehow in
that's
hockey
a good
again.
thing.
And
as you should.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Because you could be hired somewhere. You could be a part of it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that to myself. I also, my parents put me in it as a baby. Do you think I'm ruined forever because of that? No. It's got to be of your own volition that you touch it.
It really starts, I think, at 9 years old.
I love that you have a hard age for it. 8, you're good. 9, can't win
I was going to go 7, but I said 9.
Yeah.
9 is when you can understand that, and if you still hold on to the dream of being a hockey player.
Yeah.
I mean, if all bets are off and you can barely stand up in your running shoes, let alone skates,
go ahead.
touch the
Lick
damn
it. We
thing.
don't care.
Right. Touch it all day long. You ain't going to win it. We all know that.
Yeah.
So what do we make out of the second consecutive spanking between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning? Because the game prior had the Toronto Maple Leafs with a convincing win. And it was almost as if Tampa was the embarrassed team. Mm-hmm. Tampa was the team prior to last night that said that we better be careful against the Toronto Maple Leafs. This team can embarrass us.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, very dangerous team. Now the opposite happened last night.
Yeah. I fall in the middle of the road on last night. I know there's some Leafs fandom people who would say that, you can't overreact. It's one-off game. Things didn't go well, whatever. Didn't have Matthews, AHL goalie net. Bleh. And then there's some people who think, oh, my God, they're going to play the Lightning. I kind of fall in the middle. Sammy said before the show, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
You don't get to say it's nothing.
I was just kind of shocked at the amount of people on Twitter and, Leaf fans in my life that were saying to me, it's a meaningless game. They've got the home ice basically clinched. Like, what do they have left to prove? It's not meaningless.
No.
You're about to play this team in a week.
Tampa intended to send a message last night, guys. Like, that was very clear. They kept the throttle down.
Yeah, they did it.
Yeah, they sent it.
They ran it up. They ran it up.
The biggest thing I thought the Leafs played hard. In the first period was close, right? 0-0 score after the first period.
15-8 in shots, somewhere around there. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I thought
could have been up a goal.
Yeah, played well.
2.
And couple go in, and it just kind of got away from them. Started to focus on some of that scrum stuff. I'll be honest, though, I also like that I thought the Leafs stood up for themselves for the most part in those environments with, Cirelli was looking at, it was basically testing guys saying, who's just going to let me walk all over them? And I don't think anyone in the Leafs allowed themselves to be walked over last night.
I think physically, they got pushed.
During the game, or you mean the scrums and stuff?
No, not the scrums, just...
Tampa brought it.
Tampa Bay, to me, portrayed a much heavier game than the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Leafs, for me, and I'm with you, I'm not overselling that the Leafs are done against this team.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that at all. I think it would be a terrific series.
Yeah. I did have a moment, though, Kyper, where, like everyone talked about how the Raptors could upset the 76ers, and then you watch game one and just watch Philly like, oh, they have much better players. It was easy to see a way that Tampa Bay can turn it on with all the skill they have.
So this is where I think you just have to kind of – this is the true analysis of last night, is that I see two compartments, okay? The skill and the heavy hockey. And the range that both teams have to go. And while we can sit there and say on a pure individual level, right now there's no one better at putting the puck in the net than Austin Matthews, and he leads that charge. But Tampa Bay portrayed last night for me a heavier skill set that's playoff friendly, and they've proved that the last 2 years.
Right.
And the gap between the talent level between the Leafs and Tampa is a lot more narrow than the gap between heavy hockey between Tampa and Toronto. That's my biggest concern out of last night.
Also, I mean, the Leafs dressed their biggest possible fourth line with Simmons, Clifford, and Spezza. I mean, that's as big as they can get in the fourth line. I thought those guys did their part to try to push back against that. I think then you're looking at sort of third lines because that kind of counteracts their Maroon and Belmar line. And that Ross Colton's a player. He's physical. He scored 20 goals, a couple last night. I think he's a nice player for them. Nick Paul, they moved him up the lineup, and he's another big guy that mucks it up and can contribute some offense. So they do have those guys. But this year, Kyper, I feel like Engvall and Mikheyev have been like non-factors for the Leafs in the past, right? Engvall was actually scratched for Nick Robertson in the past in the playoffs. I feel like those guys are big. They don't have nastiness, but they're big.
Yeah, and this is where nastiness is your friend in the playoffs.
100% it is.
And that's the other thing, too. And I give Clifford and Simmons a ton of credit because at least they give you a different feel. How many minutes did they play last night? And I know it was a blowout.
I don't know, but
you needed those guys on the ice to balance.
Had that been Abruzzese and Blackwell and whatever is a fourth.
If you took out Simmons and Clifford out of that lineup, I think it gets really ugly for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I thought the Leafs didn't get them embarrassed in a game they lost 8-1. And part of that was because they were able to offer at least some physical pushback. Just doing a quick check here for these guys. Yeah, they were
12 minutes, 13 minutes.
Yep, Spezza was 13:45. You know, and so those guys had penalties too, right?
I give Engvall a ton of credit for the progress he's made this year. Mikheyev as well. But let's face it, they're going to beat Tampa or Boston or Florida by outskilling and outskating them. They will not be able to go in there and run people over constantly.
But that's never been it.
Like Palat can do, like Killorn can do.
Sure.
Like Anthony Cirelli can do. Like there's a long list of guys
for sure
for Tampa that can play a grinding game as well as a high skilled game. And for the Leafs, no, they got to beat you with the skill and the speed, or else this won't
Kipper, but I don't think it's that they're, like in the past that's been the case that they would have to beat you with their skill and speed, right? That's been it for years. Yeah. That's the only way they were going to win. I don't feel like they're as physically likely to wilt as they have been in the past. I feel like those guys have grown up a bit. They're older. I know they're still never going to be powerhouses, but I like that in these games, they don't seem to disappear. A lot of skill guys for the Leafs were in the garbage last night. We're, mucking it up.
And that's, Sammy, I'll bring you in on this. This is the one concern, again, if I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, is that I don't see any range for when it gets a little greasy, a little nasty. I don't see enough out of a presence of a Tavares or a Nylander. I thought Nylander was a no-show last night. That not really interested in playing in that particular game last night.
Yeah. I don't have any pushback to that.
I don't I think it's a lot of people were no-shows in that game last night. I think probably their best players were the guys that were kind of mucking it up. I didn't think a lot of impact from a lot of the impact guys on the team happened, but I do. That's always been my worry with this era of Leaf hockey is the ability to get pushed around and, going up against these teams with the grittier bottom six and going up against with these teams that have just grittier forwards in general. Like Cirelli's not a bottom six guy, but he'll muck it up. You think of guys in the Bruins. There's just other teams seem to have this ability to kind of mix in the toughness and mix in the grittiness and have the scrums.
The Leafs have played through these games this year and had success, though?
They've had a few, yes.
But what I was going to say
we
is
won't take that away from you.
I think it's in 6-3 Matthews, 6-3 Muzzin who are going to be in.
I think the Leafs have shown strides this year of their ability to play like that. And that's kind of what I was going to get to, is that they're kind of developing that part of their game. But I still worry that when push comes to shove in a series against the Lightning, that is going to be the edge. Because I know the Leafs lost 8-1 last night, but I do think the Leafs are a better team than Tampa. I really do think that, you look at the standings, you look at the way they've played. I think the Leafs are better, but I think that Tampa has a mental edge. They're
had
tough.
a better season.
They've won cups. Yeah, that's what I mean. They've had a better season. They're playing better than they are right now. But Tampa has a mental edge over the Leafs, and that's the part that worries me. It's the mental side of it. It's not the hockey. If the Leafs are just playing hockey, they're just as good as the Lightning.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of Leaf fans are feeling today. Although it wasn't that big a deal according to a lot of Leaf fans, losing 8-1 to a team
that's about to play in a week in the playoffs.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it
matters.
8-1.
It matters.
I got a few Sheldon Keefe Kippers Clippers here. Let's go to the first one about if he saw anything he liked.
Interested.
Did you like anything about your team in the second and third period?
Not really, no.
No follow-up there?
And it just ended there, right? No follow-up.
The look on his face. Look on his face is classic. When he's just not really. Nope.
When someone you really like asks you that question, you like give him the courtesy, like, here's why I didn't really like anything, and he was just so annoyed to have to answer that.
No.
Hard
not really. No.
I want to follow it up and get your thoughts on if you guys are concerned about Sheldon Keefe's next comment.
Well, that depends what it is.
Well,
about it. Tampa's willingness to show up in the game last night. You got that one, Derek? All right.
Well, listen, I mean, the way I see it is that, last time we were in here, we know how the game went. You saw how their team responded. To me, it was clear that the game meant more to them tonight than it meant to us, and it showed in how they played, how they competed. So that's what happens, when that's the case.
Now, you don't like to hear that, but that was the case when Toronto went in there, 3 weeks ago and spanked them.
Yeah, that you felt like Toronto was a team that wanted that game more.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm torn on how much to weigh last night, right? Like it just, again, I didn't, when the game buzzer ended, I wasn't like, oh, what an embarrassing, and that has happened this year. I guess there's this sense that the Leafs are likely to finish ahead of Tampa. The message sending did come, they spanked him last time, so they showed that they can beat him. They're without their top guy. They had excuses built in. So I guess I'm not overly worried about it. Are you?
I'm just, it's so late in the season now that I think both sides will continue to kind of be rejuvenated here.
Mm-hmm.
Leafs have 4 games left?
Yeah, we got Florida, Washington this weekend, Detroit Tuesday, and the season Boston on Friday.
Really have no idea how they're going to be played out.
No, and
no idea who's going to dress, who's not going to dress. What's your mandate for the next 4 games? Is it
got any worries about Austin Matthews, by the way?
Yes. Over under games he plays from here on out. 2.5.
I think he'll play his way in.
2.5 games.
No, I think he plays all 4.
Would you play Saturday night if he's ready?
Yeah,
I think so. I don't want to. You don't want to see another 6-1. All they do is score 4 or 5 goals a game. By the way, Florida,
right? Literally, they score minimum 4.5. I think their goals per game.
They play Detroit every night. Feels like they're playing Detroit every night.
No, they get to play the whole league.
Honestly,
It's crazy.
Every time I see them, 6 on Detroit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Was anything stated earlier this week about it's Jack Campbell should start Saturday night?
Yeah.
There hasn't been any confirmation or anything.
What did you think? Last night I agreed with the idea of not having Campbell in the net. Shalgren gets the game, and just like once it got out of hand, there was not a second that I was like, I wonder if Jack's going in. Like I didn't have that moment.
The Keefe clip's incredible.
Oh yeah,
let's listen to that.
Any temptation to make a goalie change to change that moment, or it's all about resting Jack?
Yeah, there's no chance I'm putting Jack in that game.
Yeah, there's no chance.
It could be 100 to 1.
That's
and not a chance.
That's like when you're losing 6-1 or 7-1 in the third inning of the last game of a series, and you just get the guy from Buffalo and you put him in there. You're like, you're going 5, pal. No matter what happens here.
All I envisioned after the game is Shalgren going into the dressing room like
Denny Lemieux,
like shaking from the movie Slapshot. Okay?
But honestly, they must be like, look, Eric, it's nothing personal, bud, but we could care. Our options in playoffs are Campbell plays well or we lose the series. So sorry, Eric.
And all Shalgren has done so far this year is show signs that he can make saves. He's talented. He can maybe put himself in a position to compete for a backup. And I thought I saw that for 30 minutes?
Yeah, you liked him early in the game. He was making some stops, and he made some legitimate scoring chance saves.
How many odd man rushes did the Lightning have in the first period? It's so funny after we had Mike Kelly on, who was like, the Leafs and their odd man rush percentage is the best in the league, and it's like 2-on-1, 2-on-1, 2-on-1.
The thing that bothers me the most about them is how quickly they can jump up on a play, and then how quickly
Tampa?
How quickly the Leafs can go up the ice and look like it's a good scoring opportunity, only in a matter of seconds turning it into a 2-on-1 the other way.
Totally,
all the time.
I have the same thing written down from last night.
The most is that it's just
I almost wrote about that today.
It's taking too big of a chance. Like you're not factoring the percentages of the pros versus the cons on this.
No.
And that is so dangerous to go into the playoffs.
Against good teams and teams that can bury their chances like Tampa Bay, I thought the exact same thing where it's like 3-on-2. Oh, look, it's a 4-on-2. Why? It doesn't need to be a 4-on-2. Turnover on the rush, all of a sudden it's going back the other way and it's in your net. I mean, there is going to have to be some real decision-making for defensemen where they go, I can get up in this play, but doing the risk-reward calculation, could not agree more. That was a major takeaway last night, how quickly the Lightning can flip things on you.
The other concern for me is a team that's trying to win a Stanley Cup, get out of the first round since forever, leading the league in too many men on the ice. That one really bothers me. And again, we saw it last night. Because the game's so fast, it's hard for, I think, even the TV telecast to really find it. And if you do, it's a wide angle, and it's not hard to kind of break down. The first thing I did last night, and I think you wrote about it today.
I did, yeah.
So just before I get to you, the first thing I want to know is what is going on? Why?
Right.
Why is there too many men on the ice here? And last night, the puck's in their own zone. They get a clear. It looks to me, as I broke it down, Tavares and Lyubushkin are coming to the bench. And the one thing over the years is you get body language off the guy that you're changing. You have a total feel, whether it's eye contact or just the body coming up a little bit as you get towards the boards.
Straight,
John Tavares came in and absolutely came in with the body language that I'm changing.
He actually took a hand off his stick and went.
And Kerfoot is the guy up.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, JT decides to button hook and go back into the zone, and Kerfoot is sunk.
Yeah, no chance. And I saw the exact same thing. I was picking through that, and I was going, Tavares calls for the change. And it's not like he was the last man back to defend a rush or something. There's no reason for him to stay on the ice. So I went through all 13 of their too many men penalties today, and Tavares does it all the time. He did it at the cost of two of the penalties again. One of the times he actually takes his stick up, raises it to the bench, and then turns away when a guy comes on. One of the times he gives like the stand up. He's coming, stays on the ice. There's one where Spezza signals to the bench. It's almost always people go, oh, is it the coach or whatever? For the Leafs, it's been the guy changing, fake changing, doing a little pump at the going to the bench.
You know what? Even the worst thing about that was that Mitch Marner identified it. He was the furthest from the bench.
He was actually up in the play and tried to get back, right?
And he cut across to get off the ice.
Yeah.
Whereas Kerfoot and Tavares, doopsie-doopsie-doo.
Yeah, Kerfoot had like mentally locked into the play and was trying to like get back in the rush, and Tavares had spun off on it.
I told you my Mike Smith story, or Craig Smith.
I don't think so.
Mike Craig. Oh my gosh,
Craig
Been
Mike,
Mikey Craig.
It's only been 25 years.
Yeah.
So we're playing at Maple Leaf Gardens, and we've got too many men on the ice. Mike Craig identifies it.
Yeah.
Skates right by our bench and screams at it. We have too many men on the ice, and then jumps back into the play.
Instead of getting off the rink, you did tell her that,
right? That's a great. You did tell that before, but I love it.
I think we had a little JT and Kerfoot thing going like that last night.
Oh, for sure.
You go, no, you go, you go. I'm
not
I'll
to
stay.
get too tinfoil hat, big brain here, but we talk about cookie monsters a lot on this team and looking for offense and getting into guys really wanting to get goals and being sort of turning up ice and forgetting sometimes the other parts of the game. Is there anything to that? Like you're like, what?
Not wanting to get off because you might get a chance.
I'm going off the bench. Oh, I see a split second. I'm turning up. Like
I know we're just joking around a little bit on that, but I don't think that's the case.
There was only one time in the season where someone did it on offense. No. They usually stayed out because they needed to defend. So
okay, I just want to bring that up.
Yeah.
So 13 too many men penalties. 6 of them happen. Almost half of them happen in the second period where they have the long change and D-men are trying to get off the rink. Morgan Riley on the hook for 4 of the 6, or involved in 4 of the 6. Caught in the middle, trying to get on. So wild, though, to go through them all and have the culprits be Morgan Riley, John Tavares, Jason Spezza, like not Abruzzese or, like any rookies or anything. So, again.
So how many is it? 14?
14 bench minors, 13 of them are too many men's, and most of the league has less than 6.
I was going to say, do we know what the record is? I feel like it's got to be getting close.
Now, you tell me that's the responsibility of the players, and I say yes to a certain extent.
At some point, you need to go to them.
You go to Sheldon Keefe, and you say, that's your bench, and you are responsible.
Yeah.
And that's when you turn around and you throw it on the players. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm Kyle Dubas or Brendan Shanahan, I'm not going to Kerfoot. I'm not going to you got to go to your coach and say, that's your bench. You get control of this thing. It's got to stop. We're going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. The accountability is on you to fix this, Sheldon.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the trickle-down accountability where he grabs Tavares and says, hey, I don't care if you're the captain. If you're coming off the rink, get off the rink quick.
If that's the third time, he's done it, then captain or no captain, you got to address it with him.
Yeah.
And I think, like I've said to you guys before, and I'll bring it up here because it's relevant, your bad habits tend to raise their ugly heads at the worst possible time when the playoffs come. You talk about it all the time in other sports and football with special teams or other stuff. You can just picture too many men at the wrong time in a big spot in the playoffs.
And it all comes down to the pressure. And everything's on the line.
I'll say most of these were against good teams where they're flailing, almost like they're like, making sure they're getting out on the ice or whatever. So I did get stats on this. This is the most the Leafs have had in a season since 15-16. It's the 7th
15
most.
and 16.
Sorry, the year. So it's the 7th most in a season in the last 10 seasons in the NHL. So I don't know if that helps us. The last team with more in a season was 3 years ago. Anyway, that's a lot. They got a lot.
Way too many.
Is that 1915?
Is that what I said? Sorry.
No, you didn't. I'm asking you. When I hear 15, 16, I'm like,
Yeah.
1915?
I guess it is.
2015?
The most in a season in 1980, the Kings 21.
Okay.
Oh my!
Listen, I'm never one to really critique the officials, and I only bring this up when I ask you, what did you think of the way the game was called? Because that's another factor for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is how the game will be called in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think if it's like last night, it does not favor well for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, definitely not.
And I mean, we talked about it last year a lot, but Keefe had the sort of rivalry going with Graham Skilleter, and Graham Skilleter was the official last night. And
does he have a thing with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a big thing with those two.
The other thing I want to bring
rivalry.
up, and this has kind of gotten a little bit attention, and it's gone a little viral, is Leah Hextall, who does ESPN, was down on the bench. Clearly, she picked up on the banter between Maroon and Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
And that led her to this question. And I only bring it up because if we go back to the midseason where Sheldon called his team soft and purposeless, it seems to has resonated throughout the league.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where on last night's telecast, Leah had, I think, Simmons on an interview, and she asked him this. Let's have a listen.
This has been a very physical contest. I was privy to your conversation with Pat Maroon here in between the benches. I know you guys have a history and have dropped the mitts before. He called you soft. My question is, are you?
You should ask him. We've never dropped the gloves. He's never obliged me before, so I don't know. I don't think I'm the one that's soft.
All right, Wayne. Best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you.
Are you soft? I'm telling you, if I was Wayne, I would have blown a gasket.
Yeah.
Because
we played soft.
Because this is out there. Maroon from the puck drop called them nothing but soft the whole game. And good on Wayne to say, I've had enough.
Yeah.
But this ain't going away. That's the one thing. If it's Maroon, if it's going to be the Boston Bruins, you are going in the first round, and the first thing in that meeting is that's a soft team. And you want proof? Go back January when their own coach called them that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it does seem to be they're going to swim upstream against that narrative. I will say the good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs is I feel like that's been the narrative. Like them being called that, this is years now. I think that's a tough spot for Simmons because that almost feels like now it's like, well, now I've been called out nationally. I need to go fight this guy to show or not.
Look at his career. He's the last guy that you would call soft.
Right.
But I don't know. Of all the tough guys, Pat Maroon seems like the fakest tough guy.
I don't know. What do you mean?
He's a tough guy. He fights the tough guys. But it took a long time. Maroon and him have had this thing going on every game, and it took him a long time to finally go him. And he was not enjoying that fight for 1 second. He was holding on, at the arms stretched out real long.
Yeah.
He's trying not to get hit.
Not a fan of old Patty Maroon.
But Pat,
not the biggest.
Whether
fan.
Pat plays 7 minutes, 8 minutes,
you're gonna know he's out there.
You talked to St. Louis and you talked to Tampa Bay recently. That guy has an effect in the game.
100%.
This time of year.
On people like me. He has an effect.
Yeah, he has an effect on players on the ice too.
Yeah, you shouldn't be thinking about him, but
as much as you do.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You factor in Corey Perry. And all of a sudden, that's a handful for this lineup to have right now going into game one.
I thought there was a lot of direct challenges to guys like Bunting, who's, listen, guys, love Michael Bunting, amazing season, offensively amazing, got that great grease, love it. But he's a bluffer. He's not going to fight anyone, right? He's that guy's face is the only time we've seen him.
Nobody's going to.
No, I'm not asking him to be tough be a fighter. I'm just saying.
But outside of Clifford and Simmons, then the lineup's done.
Right, for that regard. And they're not going to fight in the playoffs anyway. That's not, but part of it is that.
It's not the fighting.
I know.
It's I'm getting run.
But that was last night. I thought that what Tampa wanted to do is prove this point. Say, take it right to Michael Bunting and say, then fight someone, then do so. I thought there's a lot of guys that were challenged last night. For the most part, I like the Leafs pushback.
So I think there's a lot of guys, and maybe we'll do this closer when it's confirmed, but, the guys that Toronto fans are going to hate the most draft out of this match.
That's a good idea.
Thank you. We'll save that one for later. But Kucherov really is a bit of a...
Oh, he's scummy.
And that play on
Mitch,
Marner...
There's no question Mitch Marner thought he kicked him.
Yeah.
He 100%...
Even after watching the iPad,
he
Looked
100%
at the
did.
iPad and said...
That was dirty, man. He could have slit his leg. That was a dirty play by Kucherov.
I'm like 40% chance he meant to
And
do
even
it.
if he did
Maybe
more,
it
higher,
is
up, 60.
absolutely reckless
Completely.
I'll give you that.
behavior.
Yeah.
I can't
If
stand
it's
him.
not
It's not going to be a fun couple
100%
weeks.
on purpose, it's 100% reckless.
Yeah, you can sell me on that all day. For sure. And I didn't know if Mitch was chirping at him or the ref from the bench, but clearly
Both.
was not happy. Yeah.
Both, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this was though, I really feel like, and not like the Leafs needed a reality check, but a good reminder. And Sheldon talked about this after the game. I think that that's how you need to play. Do we have a clip on this?
I don't think about it.
Okay, but that,
A guy like Corey Perry, you know what you're going to get game one.
for sure.
Okay?
And
That's Tavares.
this was a good reminder for the Leafs. Like, that's what it's going to look like in game one. It's going to look like that.
And will they be ready a lot more in game one than they were last night?
And can Campbell give them more saves than Shalgren did? Not that I thought Shalgren was terrible. He was hung out to dry, but can he give them more saves to keep that game closer
Yeah.
so they can get the first one? And
You know who should make Leaf fans nervous is Vasilevsky.
yeah,
He was really good last night, too.
Well, that was a
Best
given.
goalie on earth.
That was a given from the start.
yeah.
Hopefully he's tired.
Well, the Leafs have scored on him. This year. That's not. But
People score on him.
yes,
Goals go in.
he's a 916 or
But
whatever.
when
he
the
is this year.
playoffs start, goals stop
Is
going
he a
in.
926?
They stop going
Yeah,
in when the
yeah,
playoffs
yeah.
start.
All right, we'll take a break. That was a very fast 40 minutes. Doug Mclean after the break for our All Bets Are Off Friday.
Yeah, man.
Off the rails. Always fun with Doug. Aaron Ward in the second hour and a special guest, Randy Banks. They say hockey is for everyone, including the blind. He's doing a charity event this weekend.
This is awesome.
And I'm really excited about talking to Randy about his event.
Aaron Ward too.
Aaron Ward.
We have a very busy show today.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks, JB.
No problem.
More of all of that after the break. You're listening and watching Real Kyper and Bourne.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right. Doug Mclean on. Let's welcome in Doug Mclean, former NHL president, general manager, head coach. He's done it all, including breaking down the Toronto Maple Leafs on occasion. So, Mac, 2.5 weeks ago, Toronto goes into Tampa. Austin Matthews scores, I think, his 54th goal for a hat trick. And it looks like Toronto may have Tampa Bay's number going into a first series round. Last night, the exact opposite. So where are you on all of this?
Well, it's funny. I was just thinking of this. I wish the Leafs would have been here watching Jill and I in our pickleball match this afternoon. All season long, we played a little bit of a soft game, skill game. Today, playoffs, and we played a heavy pickleball game. It was a grind. I was at the net like a monster at the net. I was in the paint. I was all over the place. And it's just an example of regular season hockey and heavy hockey. And last night was heavy hockey. Today was heavy pickleball. I'm hurting. I got a little bit of a sore back. I got to get in the pool here right after this interview, and then a little hot tub. But anyway, I thought it was a perfect example of how Jill and I played today as to how the Leafs have got to play in the next couple of weeks.
Do you think they have it in them to sustain that? Well, I don't know how long. Well, I was thinking, can Doug sustain this over multiple rounds of pickleball? I have my questions. About the Leafs. Can they hang in multiple rounds like that?
Well, here's what bothered me about last night's game is I know Marner had 6 shots or whatever on net, and he played okay. I didn't notice Tavares. I didn't notice Nylander. I hardly noticed Riley. I mean, come on, these are games where these guys, Kerfoot was invisible until he got run over and got mad. I just didn't notice enough guys. When your big horse is out and you've got a big game like last night, a statement type of game, and a lot of guys didn't show up. I mean, the first period they had 6 2-on-1s against them. The shots were 12-6, but Tampa's 6 shots were 2-on-1s. I mean, I couldn't believe the lack of jump in their game. I mean, the toughest part of their game was battling Leah Hextall between the benches. Yelling at Leah, and Maroon. Come on, it was a no-show. So I still think it's going to be a heck of a series. I still think it will be. Matthews is that important, but hey, Point wasn't there either, and he's not Matthews, but he's a damn good player.
So is that basically it now, the perception that Toronto's a very talented team, but they're soft? And you mentioned the question that Leah asked Wayne Simmons. And for me, Mac, if you're the general manager, do you even care or worry about the perception that's out there? For me personally, it would drive me bananas.
Look, I think, let's not kid ourselves. Maroon's job is to get in their heads that they don't want to play playoff hockey. That's been their history. That's been the way they performed the last 6 or so years. They've had some tough series where they probably could have won very easily. But look, they're just trying to get in their heads. The question is, will they play that style? They're capable of it. They've played some games this year where they've played a really heavy game, but they would rather play the skill game. And Tampa are crazy if they let them play that. Sorella, Hedman, McDonough, those guys mean business. Stamkos. Remember Stamkos, how he was when he came in the league? He was a plain scorer. Now the guy he'll do whatever it takes to win a game. And you know what? They're winners, but I still think it's going to be a heck of a series. Toronto's capable of playing a heck of a series. The thing that bothered me more than anything about the game last night was how good Vasilevsky was and how he turned the Leafs off. He was that good. They didn't think they could score on him.
Yeah, that first period was quality showing, and that's happened to the Leafs in the past. Last night the Leafs are three pretty big names for them, who there's varying degrees of concern over. Matthews is out, Muzzin is out, and Jack Campbell is not in the net. What are your thoughts on where those three important pieces of their puzzle are at? Are there any concern about Matthews not playing? Any concern about their hesitance, it seems, to put Campbell in the net?
Well, I understand a little bit why they didn't put him in last night. They knew it was going to be a tough game without Matthews. They knew Tampa was in trouble because Cooper's been after them. So they knew it was going to be a tough game. And I think they were scared to put him in. I don't think they wanted Campbell getting blown out. I really believe that. That's why they put this guy in there, threw him to the dogs, today you'd say it's a smart move that they didn't put Campbell in. But the problem is Campbell's now going in against two teams that are playing pretty well in Florida and Washington. And that's no easy assignment coming off that. I'm nervous about Matthews. You hate to have anybody with a week to go before the playoffs that's not playing. I guarantee you he probably could have played, but they're nervous of him tweaking whatever's tweaked. So, I don't know what it is, but, you don't like to see your star not being able to finish the season. That's for sure. Or at least play this late. That's a real concern for me. Obviously, it's not major because he skated apparently real hard in the pregame warm-up yesterday, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to eliminate something rather than manage it.
Yeah. Well, can you eliminate stuff this late? I mean, you were around. It's tough to eliminate stuff.
The other thing, Mac, you mentioned a little bit that blue line, and they're big, Mac. They're mobile. They're big. I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and collectively they've had a really good season, but they're not big, and they're not physical, which, to JB's point, Muzzin becomes that bigger of a factor not being in there as a shutdown guy because Liljegren's not big. Brody's not big. Gio's not big. Riley's not big. To me, it could come into play here later on in the series.
You know what? Well, I'll tell you what. When you look at Sorella, you look at Palat, the way Killorn played last night. These guys forechecked hard last night. They forechecked hard. But what blew me away in the game was McDonough, Hedman, Sergachev. They dressed 7D, and they played three of them a total of 16 minutes. Bogosian, Ruda, and Foote hardly played. But to see the play, the heart and soul and leadership of a McDonough will do anything to get the puck out, to keep the puck in, to get the puck to the net. And then Hedman with the plays he's making. I mean, behind the back passes and knows where guys are. I mean, this power play is frightening, and they didn't have point on it last night. So, you know what? That big blue line is a big, tough blue line, and Hedman looks like he's going into the playoffs really healthy. McDonough is going in rested because he's been injured and out for a couple of months. So, and then you throw Vasilevsky in there. They're a veteran team, but you know what? The Leafs have had such a great season. You just want it to be. You want it to be a great series. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I said last year I didn't like their third and fourth line, and I'm going into this year's playoffs saying I don't like their third and fourth line.
So what do you want to see from them then the next week or two before playoffs? They got 4 games left.
Hold on. Just the third line for the most part, and I don't know, it's maybe Camp's just pulling back a little bit, getting ready for the big assignment because this guy was just such a stud for the first half of the season. And even up until a month ago, I thought he's had a terrific year, but it looks like he's pulled back a little bit here. But for the most part, their third line's been okay.
What would Camp be thinking about pulling back? I mean, what's he done in his career to ever pull back?
Mac,
he should be going forward is where he should be going.
I know, but it's also a guy that's never had this much responsibility before or the level of expectation. I'm not saying he's doing it purposely, but it's a long season, and
I know it is.
He might be running out of gas just a touch here, and playoffs will hopefully rejuvenate him.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we know how important the third and fourth lines are. They've won Stanley Cups. They've helped win Stanley Cups. They've helped win. I shouldn't say they've won them, but they've been a huge part of them. So the third and fourth line is going to be really big. And right now they're going into the playoffs. They don't know who their fourth line is. And I guess they're sure about their third. I mean, I like Mikheyev. I love what he brings to the table. But, you know, they don't really – do they know what their third line is? Do they know what their fourth line is? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, they better decide. You know, they got the little guy there, Blackwell, running around. I mean, and they got the kid from Harvard running around. I mean, are they going to be their fourth line? Are they going to be their third line? Or are they just – what are they?
Yeah, I'd say that's a really important question is what do they want that group to be for them? And so there is still games left. You know, I was kind of getting at the question there. So what do you want to see then over the 4 games? Do you want to see him harden the playoff lineup and say this is the group we're going to roll with, or is it still time for experimenting?
I think experimenting should probably be over. I mean, I would have thought, you know, you get down this time of year, if you need to rest somebody, that's a different story. But, I mean, the one thing Keith has done a great job of all year, for the most part, is mixing the minutes around where guys haven't played that much, where they haven't played that much. So who in the Leafs could be tired other than Auston Matthews? Other than him, who could be possibly tired on that team? Marner's played a lot, but after that,
Marner's an energy bunny, though. He goes on forever.
Yeah,
he's Duracell.
He's fine. I'm not worried about him. But, I mean, Tavares hasn't played that much this year. I mean, I'm looking at games where he played 16 minutes. You know, I'm looking at Nylander games where he played 16 minutes. I mean, nobody should be tired on that hockey team unless it's Matthews or Morgan Riley. Those are the only two that should be tired for me. So get your lineup together and get ready for an unbelievable, ferocious, vicious first round. And play your asses off, because this is the series that everybody's waiting for, and this is the series that is going to define the Toronto Maple Leafs and a lot of guys' careers, including the coach and the GM. This is pressure like you never see in a first round after the debacle the last 5 or 6 years. This is a series they have got to win. They've got no choice but to win this series, boys, so they better figure it out and get your lines together, get your groups together, and be ready to go to battle, because it is going to be a battle. They're good enough to win, but if they lose, I don't want to be on this show if they lose. If they lose,
we don't either, Matt.
Yeah, we're done.
If they lose, lose, I'm retiring, because what I would say would get me fired. So I might as well retire before I go on with you guys if they lose. They better win this series.
Just one more for me. It looks like Jack Campbell.
And you know what? I'd like to wish them good luck.
All right. Plenty of time for that. Jack Campbell will get one of 2 starts this weekend. And then there's just Detroit and Boston. You mentioned that.
Is he tired? Is he tired?
No, he's not. And that's my question to you.
He hasn't played in 2 months.
That's my question. You talked about maybe protecting him last night, but is there enough here that he can get on a roll a little bit here, or go in with even more confidence?
If he beats Florida and Washington, man, he's on a high going into the playoffs. A high if he beats those 2 teams in a back-to-back. Surely to God he can muster up enough. I remember Beezer, when I didn't play Beezer, whether it was a back-to-back, he wouldn't speak to me. He'd be so mad at me. You know, so – and then Mark Fitzpatrick wouldn't speak to me because I never played him. You know, so I mean,
can't win.
It was a dream job. He had neither goalie talking to me. It was perfect for a coaching job.
Mac, we lost another great one. There's too many Hall of Famers now, and it's a sad another sad day for us. Guy Lafleur lost to his battle of cancer.
Yeah, look, to lose two people like Bossy and Guy Lafleur in a week is just unbelievable. It really is. And I was thinking, you think of thing. I remember I was playing for the Montreal Junior Canadiens in Guy Lafleur's first year in Montreal, and I remember watching him in Charlottetown playing for the Quebec Ramparts, playing the Charlottetown Islanders in the then Eastern Canadian Memorial Cup Championship. I mean, this guy was so good. It was unbelievable. And wearing number 4 for Belleville with the Ramparts, and then becoming the Montreal Canadiens' first pick, and then being there to watch the excitement around him when he was in training camp as a young guy. It was just, and just the specialness of him and how he treated people and the teammates, how they loved him and respected him. I mean, it's reading Ken Dryden talk about him is pretty special, because I mean, they lived it together, so it was, it's a sad day.
Yeah. Well said, Mac. We're going to let you go now. Are we under the impression that you and Jill are out of the first round?
No, we won it. We won the first round because we played heavy. I was a killer at the net, and that's what the Leafs do. Don't be scared to go to the net. You probably won't get hurt. You won't get hurt if you go there, unless you fall in. If I fall into the pickleball net, I'm in trouble.
All right, go get some rest. Load the carbs up. Do something. Have drinks, multiple drinks with alcohol.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Mac.
Doug Mclean. Can somebody who's lives next door to him videotape him for us and send it up?
Do you think they're it's good? Would you be impressed if you watched, or do you think it's
no? No.
Well, hey, admire him for tying that to something no one has any idea about.
Have you ever played pickleball?
No.
I have not. I heard it's fantastic, though. No?
You have played it?
No,
I play tennis.
So do you think
and a lot of times, here's what I'll say. Anytime I play tennis and there's people on the tennis court playing pickleball, I'm always kind of like, okay.
It's like squash people shaming racquetball players.
Kind of. I get it's maybe better for people of Doug's vintage. It's better for them. So, you're
just saying it's an old person sport.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's not in Florida. It's right up there with shuffleboard.
It's not exactly the most electric activity. Let's just say that. It's tough to paint a backhand winner when you're standing 2 feet from the net.
All right, then.
Do you guys play tennis? Tennis is the
yes,
best.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you guys, so we tried to go golfing yesterday. We didn't get the chat off.
We tried. We did.
I know.
Oh, we didn't try. We succeeded.
No, well, so we as a group tried to go. We got rained out in the morning. Sam and I went to breakfast, called it a day, and then I get a picture from these two yokels. Sun is shining. You guys are on the course. What time did you tee off? I had TV at night, so I couldn't join them.
2:30.
Yeah.
And it was great. And Don Valley was in great shape.
Yeah.
Considering all the rain in the morning.
Yeah, so where are we petitioning them for free rounds for mentioning how great their course is right now? Is that what we're doing?
God, you got to grind John Tory to get a free round. Yeah. So they got a separate debit machine for the pull cart.
Sammy can crank the ball.
Is it all right, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Borrowed my driver on a couple occasions.
Couple of lefties.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody who wants to send me a free driver, that's definitely where
Sammy's
I will take. I
have
no driver. So
yeah.
So how'd you play?
I think I was 5 over in the front and 5 over in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, 82. I was 85.
All right, you guys are all right.
Made a birdie.
Boy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Next Thursday, we also may not have a show if the Raptors are still in the playoffs. They have to win 2 games, and we get another day off. So go Raps, go.
I don't think we're gonna have a show.
No,
I think we are gonna have one.
We'll be 10-12 that day. I think
they can't stop
Embiid. He's too
Joel
good.
Embiid.
He's too good.
How does a guy
too many man penalties? Too much man.
How does a guy that big? In
Catch and release 0.9 second fade away.
Was it 0.9, Sammy?
Yeah, 0.9. And listen, we don't need to get into it. They just had 2 hours Raptors show, but how do you let their best player wide open on the inbounds play? He gets a free look.
When you don't defend the inbound.
No. Anyways.
Freddie ended up covering him.
Yeah, good. That's not gonna.
Not
work.
a height matchup for a guy shooting.
Do we have anybody that can cover him?
Who? Embiid?
Yes.
No, there's no one on earth that can cover him, really.
But you throw Precious at him as
yeah,
best
you can throw guys at him, but he's just too good. And listen, he had his moment where Kawhi hit the shot in his face and he was crying, and he had that moment at Scotiabank Arena, and then he gets to come back here 3 years later in the first playoff game since that era and hit a game winner. So
Barf.
Yeah, it's a tough one. 2 o'clock start tomorrow afternoon for the Raptors.
By the way, the Leafs would put him in front of the net if they could. Kyper.
Oh, yeah.
He would make you happy, I think, for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
No question about that. Bring it on, Maroon.
Oh, Kyper, we were supposed to talk about it, but we're not giving them away today, but next week. Give me some playoff tickets.
Free Leafs tickets.
Leafs playoff tickets.
Next week. Not yet, but we'll have to figure out how we're going to give those away. Maybe come up with some trivia or something.
And they are rather valuable.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard or not.
Cost a handful of hundreds of dollars
just
per.
the cost of tickets now for the playoffs. Like what would I haven't looked.
I don't know.
At my
We'll rate and review the podcast. Let's start there. Then we'll talk about who gets them.
Weren't we going to talk about how much the Coyotes were
Coyotes
charging?
have their season tickets next year. I think the best seat in the house is roughly around $400.
The cost of a cheeseburger.
Why do they do that? It's not going to sell.
You don't think so?
The season ticket packages. You can get a season ticket
for
at center
$11,000
ice in the lower bowl for $9,000.
$9,000. Okay.
Center ice, 41 home NHL games, 5 rows up.
And that $9,000 would
ticket.
get you a block of 7 games here?
Yeah, I mean, not if they're good tickets.
Yeah. So, listen, like my theory on it was you get to see it's like seeing a big band at a small venue. It's like seeing the Stones at Lee's Palace or something to go watch a game in Arizona.
I mean, so I have a friend who lives in Calgary, and guy works in oil. He's got a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
Instead of having Flame seasons, he goes to Coyotes games because he can get on the glass with dinner for $150.
Yeah.
Catches a flight down. It's cheaper than going to Flames game for him. And he's on the glass.
Incredible.
So what's it going to be like now?
For Leaf fans, Tampa Bay isn't too far off on that too.
No, you're not wrong. For $20,000, they'll let you play for the Coyotes.
I've been to that building in Tampa. Yeah. It's funny that's an amazing place to watch a game. One of the best jumbotrons on planet Earth. They got literal lightning, electricity on top of it.
Fun.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But I will say, when I went there, it was like 60% Leaf fans, and the Lightning fans did not like that.
Oh yeah.
You could really feel that it's a very niche group down there of people that like them, and they felt very invaded by the Leaf fans.
Tough bounce.
Yeah.
Canadians in Florida, get over it.
Yeah,
I don't. When the Habs go down there, it doesn't go well for them either. Whenever the Canadian teams go in there, I doubt the Southern Florida teams like
welcoming.
That. Anyways.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Aaron Ward will join us after the break, and Randy Banks to talk about blind hockey.
Cool.
Which is, I have no idea how this gets done, but I'm dying to ask Randy. Also, YouTube questions, right? We're going to take some questions on a Friday.
Questions. Text 590-590 if you're listening out there. We'll answer some questions at the end of the show.
All right, and if you're catching us on our YouTube channel, please hit the like button. Sammy absolutely loves that. And give us a rating and review on all our podcast platforms. You're listening and watching Real Kyper and Bourne, show number 138.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Also coming up, Randy Banks from the Toronto Ice Owls blind hockey team. That'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
It's got a great charity event this weekend. But before we do that, let's welcome in Aaron Ward. Wardo, how are you? Where are you? What the heck's going on?
I am in Raleigh. I'm dropping my daughter off, who is heading to the beach on a vacation with a friend. It's 87 degrees here in Raleigh. Yeah.
That sounds okay.
So, it's good, but it's just, you like to ease into it. So the other day it was like 40 degrees, and today it's almost 90.
Well, speaking of easing into it, Leaf fans thought and really wrapped their heads around the last few weeks that it was just going to be the Leafs in Tampa Bay. And that was coming off a huge win where they won 6-2 about 2.5 weeks ago in Tampa. And yet last night has been a bit of a curveball for a lot on the old saying, be careful what you wish for. What did you make of last night's game against the Leafs in Tampa?
Well, I think it's motivation, right? So as much as you laid out exactly what the path was for Toronto, I think the path was different for Tampa. Tampa's still invested because, truth be told, if you listen to John Cooper over the last 2 weeks about how his Tampa Bay Lightning team has played, it's not exactly been great. They've kind of still sought out their identity in some of these games. In games they haven't even shown up. So John Cooper is generally a pretty positive guy. And you've heard him talk about the fact that this team has had a negative effect in terms of where they're headed into the playoffs. So I think there's a little bit of a panic in the Tampa locker room, knowing that in the same state currently, the Florida Panthers seem to be a juggernaut in the East, and that, two-time defending Stanley Cup champions aren't exactly not limping across the line, but they're not just blowing the doors off. So I think there was a little urgency to their game. That being said, I would pay attention to the fact that this Tampa team is lethal. That on the tip of a hat, they can change how they play. A little injection of confidence, and they're back to being an elite team in the National Hockey League. So if I'm Toronto currently, and I'm a coaching staff or a management or I'm even a leadership group, to this locker room, I'm trying to package this as a complete throwaway game. Nothing to learn from. Nothing you want to lean on. It just happens. It's a course of the season, and I wouldn't dwell on it. But I would be aware that Tampa could be, something to deal with.
Well, how do you reconcile how their season is gone versus all the talent on the team? Because, I know, you're digging into the odd numbers thing here and there. Like, Tampa's numbers aren't through the roof, defensively or offensively, 8th, 9th, 10th. They're not, they've been raging in first place in the past and scoring goals. What do you make of their step back? And, does it mean anything in light of them still having all of the talent that has won them Stanley Cups?
It's funny how you have to gauge the East right now. So, and I would say that I think some of this is a product of the conference, that you have an incredibly competitive group. I mean, I keep going back to the fact that there are 8 teams in the East that honestly, at stages of the season, believed they had a decent shot to make the Stanley Cup Finals and maybe win it. And now you're going to have at least 3 teams stepping out of the Eastern Conference playoffs in the first round feeling like, good God, that was the greatest chance, one of the best chances we had at doing something, and this is our fate. So I would say there's a partial amount of hangover. I mean, let's be honest, like the team in Tampa has played an exorbitant amount of games. And in an unfamiliar schedule, right? You're playing in the summer, you're playing extended, you're playing at times that are not normal, and NHL players are creatures of habit. So now you're into the third season. You're supposed to be getting yourself along the way again as a potential favorite to win the Stanley Cup for a third consecutive time. You're going to make history in some capacity. It hasn't been done in a very long time. And now you're up against the Floridas, the Carolinas, I mean, even the Pittsburghs and the New York Rangers that are really good teams. You got Toronto's it is a deep conference. So I wouldn't judge any team in the East solely by their individual performance, I would look at the fact that there's attrition going on. There's not just physical, but a standings attrition of, like, you have to account the fact that there are some really good teams that on given nights you're just going to have to accept it's not your night and they're going to take it from you.
Well, the narrative since 15 years now is parity. The salary cap brought parity. And yet I've never seen before teams lock in their playoff spots in November. And I'm just wondering at certain points, every one of these 8 teams that have been locked in for over half a season now have stumbled a little bit here. Can we connect the dots here?
Well, I would say some of the stumbling happens. Like, I'll look at a Boston team. I don't truly believe Boston is a team that's made for progressing on in the playoffs. I would look at other teams and say, hey, listen, I think it's mental exhaustion. And we've all played. There are stages of the season inexplicably that you go through a dry patch. Generally, it happens in the doldrums of February and into March, where you're trying to find your motivation and the repetition of going to the rink every single day, and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And as you start to see, maybe there's some urgency in the standings, or you're getting closer to playoffs, you have that internal kind of excitement that's elicited. You start to feel really good about your game again, and you ramp up for the playoffs. I can't explain why some of the teams are struggling, but again, it's so good in the East. If I'm someone marketing the National Hockey League, a lot of things are working in my favor. For the American team, for American broadcasters who have the rights right now, you have ready-made key matchups. You don't have to wait for the conference finals to be interested. Everything in the East interests me. Then you have, not just the marketability of the players that are involved in the playoffs, right? So even, I haven't even mentioned Washington afterthought, right? So now we're looking at the fact that we've got scoring up. It seems like there's tons of scoring. I'm sorry for all the motorbikes going by as I'm sitting here talking on radio. But like I said, there's so much about this game that I think we're anticipating happening in the playoffs, that there should be a level of excitement over the entire product of what the league's going to have to offer from the first round, not having to wait into the second and mainly third rounds.
Yeah, so the most interesting race then, the East obviously very compelling, but the West is what's going on in Las Vegas with their situation. What are your thoughts on how it's gone for them this year? Like, do you still think that if this team found a way in, they would be super dangerous?
I think they could be dangerous. Here's the thing. Well, one thing we learned last year from the Montreal Canadiens is get yourself in there and see where you go.
Yeah.
Right? Inevitably, there can be a motivational factor. There can be a unifying of a team. No one really knows what happens in a locker room that makes a team competitive and makes another team come playoff team peter out. I think the funniest part is, had you talked about a team whose name starts with loss, it was not Vegas. It was Vegas and not Angeles that was going to make the playoffs. And I think it's amazing that we're now looking at a Vegas team that has we would have said the window is massive. And that the acquisition of Eichel and circumventing the CBA legally, however, like, this is working out. Like, you're getting a ready-mix Tampa Bay Lightning opportunity that they've had with Kucherov. Now you've got guys. You're going to get guys under the salary cap. This is going to be great. And now you're looking at a team that is going to be falling flat in their face. Honestly, I'm sorry. Like, motorbikes.
No problem, pal.
I have no idea.
Hey, it's
just try and move through.
It can get worse here real quick on our side, too. Don't worry about that.
For me, I am shocked, utterly shocked at the disappointment that Vegas has been. And I think that a lot of people thought that, in the same vein that you acquire a key player and you think that's going to put you over the top. Again, there's the chemistry component of hockey that getting all these high talented guys into a locker room doesn't guarantee you even making the playoffs, is this example.
Do you think that the management team could hide behind just the injuries and whatever Robin Lehner's going through right now?
They're going to have to. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's some debate over whether or not Lehner should have surgery on whatever is ailing him currently?
Yeah, I think that's the latest right now. There's a few conflicting reports, I think, that whether or not he should shut it down or it's a maintenance day, as Peter DeBoer, I think, said.
And we will never know because there's a shroud of secrecy management starts potentially stepping into, should a player not be tending to, of urgency felt in that locker room and in the front offices. So I don't know if they can hide behind it. I mean, they went out and made a bold move in getting Eichel, and they positioned themselves well for the playoffs. So now you have to make a determination, is the failure on the players, or is it the failure in the estimation of how this lineup would work itself together?
Do you think the first place people point the finger at is the commitment to Robin Lehner over Marc-Andre Fleury? That gets revisited?
I'm sure we're gonna basically put everything through the sifter and see what happens. I mean, Vegas in the West had a great opportunity because after Colorado, it was anybody's opportunity in that conference to figure out how things will fall out, right? And I think that everybody was kind of positioning Vegas as a 1B behind Colorado coming into the season. Now, yeah, by all standards, I mean, this is a failure. I mean, to one, get eliminated in the playoffs is maybe you can start talking about what you're missing. Not making the playoffs, period. I mean, this is an epic failure. So if you're going to start revisiting whether or not you should have stuck with Fleury or Lehner, I think you give the organization an opportunity to answer those questions before you start to maybe perhaps dig deeper, because they may be transparent about what their thinking was there. If it makes sense to the general public, media, and fan base, then we have to make that determination after we hear about it.
Bordeaux, it's always tough to know specifically which teams to ask you about, because I know you guys have player and puck tracking technology there, and you sift through all that data. And so I just want to throw out a general one about any dark horses that you guys would see around the NHL, outside of the first place seeds in some of these divisions that may have a shot getting in the postseason, or once they get in the postseason.
Okay, honestly, put me on the spot. I'd have to look at that.
Yeah.
I usually look at Toronto centric. And God's honest truth, I spend most of the day making a presentation of the Edge platform to a Canadian Western Conference team.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Well, then we can focus on those Toronto Maple Leafs then and how legit the numbers say they are.
Well, again, so it's the ability of the likes of the Marners and the puck carriers get the puck cross into the offensive zone without turning it over. That is the key for Toronto. I feel better in terms of continuity and with the addition of Giordano of solidifying that group. I still question from a goaltending, even beyond the numbers of what the analytics numbers say about goaltending. If you end up against most goalies in the East right now, I still don't feel very confident in what Toronto possesses between the pipes, no matter who you put back there. Right? If you're doing the check marking of where's the balance of power fall, I think, if you end up with Tampa 100%, here we are sitting goaltending, no. Do I feel more comfortable with Tampa on decor? Yes, I do. From there, I feel like it's a toss-up, may lean in Toronto's favor, but what we know about the playoffs is the ability to play defense, to lock things down, given that opportunities decrease over the term of the playoffs. How does Toronto react? And our most recent experience as Toronto Maple Leaf, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan base, is thinking about what did Marner do last year, and we don't have a lot to feel full confident about. We feel like there's been some turnover and some questions about how certain guys may react in the playoffs. So I'm a little nervous for the Toronto Maple Leaf fans as to what. Put it that way, without being Chicken Little, I'm a little nervous for the fan base.
Aaron, I know I'm older than you, but maybe a quick thought on our loss, our Hockey Hall of Fame loss with Guy Lafleur.
So I think that was, everybody's kind of reflecting, and I think at this age group, my demographic, I kept thinking about the fact that he was the one guy. I grew up a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I grew up in Ottawa. My entire neighborhood was Toronto Maple Leafs. And the only story that came to mind for me was I was thinking about the fact that he was the one guy you were allowed to be from the Montreal Canadiens. Why? Because before social media, before guys having flair, where you got to see who they were beyond Ron Duguay, maybe perhaps at that time, Guy Lafleur was the most amazing skater, the most amazing game breaker, with the persona and personality. Like, so I used to cringe every time, if I didn't get Bob Cole or Gary Dornhofer and I heard Dick Irvin's voice, it wasn't any personal about Dick. It was the fact that I knew I was getting the Montreal Canadiens. But then there was almost that satisfaction of knowing, you're going to get to see Guy Lafleur, and you're going to get to experience exactly what this guy is all about and how amazing he was. So, I mean, it's tough, especially for a Montreal community, knowing that, that we just lost Mike Bossy, and another great personality, a great ombudsman for the game of hockey. We've lost today. So it's tough, absolutely tough.
Tough week indeed. Ward, always a pleasure, man. And your insights fantastic for our show. We so appreciate you coming on.
Hey, Bourne, what we'll do is you and I will text. You send me the teams you want analytics on.
Okay.
I'll contact Shane Kelly, the real brains of the operation that's there in Toronto, and I'll just spew out what he tells me is going on.
All right, man.
All
Appreciate it.
And we'll hit that up before game 1 puck drop, okay?
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Wardo.
Aaron Ward. Yeah, I'm a little older than you. You know that. So I grew up when he was absolutely in his prime with Jacques Lemaire, Steve Shutt, the great Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
So cool.
It's just a natural progression to hate the team that is just at the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just so good that you couldn't hate him.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Wardo's right. Like if somebody already called Sittler and McDonald in a road hockey game, I'll take the flower.
Yeah. It was crazy. Like I watched a highlight today when he came back to Montreal in a New York Rangers jersey. Guy gets a standing O before the game. They cheer for him when he scores for the Rangers on the Canadiens. There's a big loud cheer. Like crazy how much he resonated, and it wasn't about the team so much as like this guy was separate from it all. And legend, as I mentioned, he just always seemed cool to me. Like everything about him was just cool. Nice pictures of him off the ice and the hair flowing, beautiful.
All right, as promised, another cool guest on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Let's welcome in Randy Banks, and Randy is a player with the Toronto Ice Owls blind hockey team, and they've got a charity event this Saturday, a fundraiser at Eddie Bush Arena in Collingwood from 1 to 3 p.m. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of bring on Randy and just to bring a little awareness to this, because this is, once again, you want living proof that hockey is for everyone. Well, how about Randy and the Ice Owls? Randy, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. Good afternoon, guys. I appreciate you getting me on.
Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Ice Owls and the league in general, or at least how you play, where you play, and where did this all begin?
The Ice Owls were founded in 1972.
Wow.
We're the only blind hockey team in Ontario. And I got hooked up with them about 5 years ago. With my vision loss, I kind of got off the ice, and I found the Ice Owls. And we play out of Agent Court every Sunday. And we travel down from Collingwood. There's players come from Sudbury, Burlington, Woodstock, Collingwood, Stayner, because we are the only team in Ontario for blind hockey. It's becoming more popular. We are sponsored by Canadian Blind Hockey. We have a Canadian National Blind Hockey team, hoping to get into the 2026 Paralympics. So that's our goal. It's just been great for me to get back on the ice and play the game I love. So,
yeah. It's awesome. I have a sledge hockey playing brother, and I'm familiar with a lot of different para sports and all that. But blind hockey, I was not familiar with. Kyper and I were talking about it before the show. Could you explain to people how it works? Because I was like, wait, how did, wait,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, yeah.
Oh, wait, are they, how? Yes. So can you just explain how it works? I saw some videos. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. How do blind people play hockey? Well, the biggest thing is our puck. We use an adapted puck. It's 4 times bigger than a regular puck. It's made of metal, and it has 8 ball bearings in it, so it rattles as it moves, and it moves a little slower than a regular puck, so that gives us an opportunity to track it. And our goalie nets are 3 feet high instead of the traditional 4 feet high. Another rule, and you guys are going to like this one, our goalies have to be blind, totally blind. That's part of the rules.
Pardon me.
So
yeah.
How do you get mad at him when he doesn't make a stop?
Absolutely. That's why we give them a little better chance by giving them that extra foot on the net shorter.
Right.
So we got a little less of a target to hit. We got about 3 rules. Otherwise, everything else is the same. You walk into a rink where we're playing blind hockey, you wouldn't know it was any different other than our puck when you hear it rattle. We have a 1-pass rule. So when you cross the offensive blue line, the player carrying the puck has to make a clean pass, and we have a separate whistle. It's called the 1-pass whistle. So it's a separate whistle that goes to let the goalie know that there's a potential shot coming at the net, and the other players that have less vision. And we are a league that's open to men and women. So it's probably the fastest blind sport on ice.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that's incredible. And what is the range? If you're not completely blind, is there like a cutoff?
Yeah, 10% vision or less is like I'm a B3, so I'm 10% peripheral or less. 2 is less than 5%. And a B3 is no sight at all. So that's our classifications.
So, Randy, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the game last night, but plenty of chirping between Maroon and Simmons last night. And, I got to be careful how I phrase this, but on occasion, the word blind has been described to me with my level of play on occasion. What is chirping like? Because no matter where you are, there's always going to be a little bit of chirping in a game of hockey. What is that like in your league?
Well, I'll tell you, it can be it's competitive. Don't get me wrong. I just played in a big tournament in Toronto on the 26th of March. It was the National Blind Hockey Tournament, which is the biggest tournament in North America. We have players come from all over the UK, out west, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Finland, Sweden. And I'll tell you what, don't get me wrong, it can get pretty crazy out there.
That's awesome.
Now, have you graduated a lot of officials to the NHL, perchance? Have they come from? we get the impression sometimes.
We actually, to tell you the truth, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. Terry Gregson has become a good friend of mine, and he did the reffing up here 3 years ago in Collingwood when I had the charity game up here.
Yeah.
He lives locally, and we've become good friends, and he's quite interested in blind hockey. And unfortunately, he was out of town this weekend, so he would have been at my game. But, he reffed our game, and he was really, really impressed with the speed and the quality. Like, we've got guys that played junior that lost their sight at 18, and they're back playing, and children and youth. It's really, really amazing, to tell you the truth. Getting people back out on the ice for the game, basically, that we all love to play.
Well, Terry's a good man. Hey, Randy, we really appreciate it. And once again, it's this Saturday at the Eddie Bush Arena in Collingwood from 1 to 3 p.m.
Absolutely. There's a huge silent auction. It's going to be a great event. The local junior team has been on board sponsoring the Collingwood Blues. They're sponsoring it. It's going to be a great event. We got 72 sponsors, 65 silent auction items. It's going to be crazy. So I encourage everyone to, if they're up this way, come on out, check it out. It's admission by donation at the door, and it's going to be a great day. And come on out and see how the visually impaired and blind people play hockey.
Randy, is the silent auction all done in person, or is there a website or something we can?
No, unfortunately, it's in person.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in person. So,
all right.
Yeah.
We got some little Buddha heading up there as well.
Absolutely.
Makes it a perfect weekend. Hey, Randy, thanks for joining us and letting us know a little bit about you and the Ice Owls. We wish you all the best.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, guys, and have a great weekend. And, check out Canadian Blind Hockey or the Toronto White Owls website to find out more about us. And I appreciate your support.
Good luck, Randy.
Randy Banks.
Thanks.
I mean, the video's crazy, right? Like the pucks is, like a dinner plate, and it sounds like
that just honestly, it warms my heart that
awesome.
People love the game that much, right?
So cool. Truly so cool. And, it's tough not to laugh about it because, sometimes we do make the joke about it not being blind.
That was a hell of a joke.
I would bet right now, another case of Little Buddha, that this hockey's probably better than your men's league, Sammy.
I was 100%.
Sammy's cooked, by the way. He retired from men's league.
I'm terrible.
Last night.
Honestly, last night, I saw my whole summer flash before my eyes. Got tripped in a super vulnerable position going full speed, which is not very fast, but going full speed, crashed into the boards. Thought I broke my wrist. I might be retiring, boys.
Can you imagine rotator cuffs done right before golf season?
I'm done. I'm just done.
No, that would be the worst.
And my wrist is still barking. It's noticeably sore. So I think I'm retiring.
You played 18 holes at 7 a.m. today. You're probably okay.
Yeah, I did.
You got out again today?
I did. Yeah, I did.
You cheated on me?
I did. I played Humber Valley this morning, 7 a.m.
This guy's nuts.
Sucks.
This guy's nuts.
What'd you shoot?
84, but 84. It's a par 70. I was awful.
You were
awful.
You were better yesterday.
Oh, way better. I was terrible today. Anyways.
All right, so where are we going? We going to YouTube
questions.
We got some tweets out there. Tell me what.
I like this one. This is from.
We no longer have preparation.
Gagnon Singh on YouTube. He says, "Which team is most likely, in your opinion, to win the West?"
Most likely.
Like to get through the playoffs in the West, I assume we're talking here.
Yeah.
Since Colorado's done. I just have a really hard time in these questions trying to be the guy who gets cute with it.
Predict.
No, but to not be the guy who's like, I think secretly in Colorado. Colorado's amazing. I mean, that decor when they're healthy with Taves and Makar and Gerard and then a couple of bangers back there too. Like that, I really like Colorado. Seems like the answer for me.
Is there any vibe at all that there will be a few upsets?
Yeah. Some people think Colorado's soft. They're unproven in playoffs. Their third line.
So
let me pull this up. Their third line's not tough at all.
Dark horse team, Minnesota.
Like the Blues better though.
I don't even like.
Their third line is Ben Myers, Nico Sturm, and Alex Newhook.
That first round series that's shaping up there with Minnesota and St. Louis is going to be a war, boys. That is going to be.
St. Louis has like 6 or 7 20-goal scorers, do they not?
Yeah,
they are off the charts.
They're like third in the NHL in goals for, and you usually think of them as like a defense first team. They're 5 goals behind the Avalanche. And everyone thinks of the Avs as like the super scoring team. They're legit, man.
Yeah.
Robert Thomas.
I love Kyrou. I love that team.
Vegas is still not out. If Vegas wins every game, do they get in?
Oh yeah, no, they're
still very much alive.
Points back.
They are exactly a couple points
back.
They're
2 points behind Dallas with the same games
Dallas
played.
4 games to go.
Yeah, they're in the thick
but they need all 8 points.
One of the themes on our show all year, Dallas stinks.
Dallas does stink.
And how are they? They're still in the playoffs.
Yeah, well,
they're trying to barf it away.
Lead a week ago. I maybe exaggerated twice there, but they're trying to get rid of this thing. They're trying to lose it. Let's check out Dallas' schedule. Do we got any more questions?
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right. What else we got?
What's your ideal bottom 6 for the Leafs to start the playoffs? John in Toronto.
Good question.
Fourth line?
Ideal bottom 6. Yeah, for the Leafs, third and fourth line. So I loved Mikheyev, Engvall, Kampf. Really loved that line.
I think you got to stick with that.
And then from there you've got Spezza, Simmons, Clifford, or Spezza, Simmons, Blackwell, or
I'm thinking that you, as much as at times you worry about maybe even a Clifford taking a bad penalty, I don't see if it's Tampa Bay, I don't see how you can not play Clifford and Simmons. Both. That, to me, is a must for game 1. Based on what I saw last night and the way that Perry's going to run around, Cirelli's going to run around, Maroon's going to run around, 100% I need Clifford and Simmons. And if that means Spezza's out and Blackwell's in, so be it.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Are you with me a little bit?
If it's in Tampa Bay, I am. Like, if it's in the hostile environment and you just feels like the world's on top of you, it's nice to have those big bodies to help you push through. If they're in Toronto and you can put together a line with,
I think
Blackwell and Spezza and
I think
go
you're
out there
losing. You're losing your 2 games in Toronto if you even take your foot off the pedal and don't even think about home or away. They're coming at you no matter what. They've proved it. Tampa Bay, though, has proved it over the last few years. They're coming after you. And Corey Perry, oh my God, come on, like this guy's.
I'm not making my playoff lineup because of Corey Perry.
This guy's a pain in your ass for now 2 years.
He's a pain in the ass regardless of who you put out there.
Mm-hmm. No, but you need a little pushback off of it. You can't give him a red carpet.
Yeah.
You need somebody, and at least Clifford and Simmons, even though they're $2,500 poorer because of fines,
I really
NHL
enjoyed
fines.
Clifford trying to
he bonked him.
He gave him a good old bonk.
He just bonked him right there.
Hey,
bonk.
Hey, Cliffy, that's the best $2,500 bucks you can
and Simmer
spend,
too, flying
right?
in there, shoulder up into the head.
Could easily spend that on the boys on a Saturday night.
I bet you the boys spend that on them.
Better spent on the little conch on the head.
So no chance Willie Nylander third line starting the playoffs in the bottom 6?
Again, for me, it's where you are. Like, if you're at home, I think he's second line, third line.
I liked it.
I'll tell you what, though. If I see more games out of Willie Nylander like I did last night, then you're not starting in my top 6.
Okay. Yes. I didn't know where you were going with that.
You're going to scratch him.
This is a thought that's bounced around in my head, and I've never actually verbalized it, and somebody verbalized it on YouTube. This isn't a question, but it's an interesting thing that I've thought of, and I didn't know if anybody else had. This Leafs team, this is from ACH on YouTube. This Leafs team reminds me of the Ottawa Senators of the early 2000s. Very skilled, but couldn't get past the tough Maple Leafs. I really don't see this team going past the first round. And this is something that I've thought of about the Leafs and being skilled and then running into a team that's got a ton of skill. Really good goaltending that carried the Leafs through a lot of those series. But it's an interesting,
that's where I start.
It's an interesting parallel.
When I think of that team,
Cujo and then Eddie Belfour.
Yes. And more importantly for Ottawa, Patrick Lalime.
Horrible goaltending. You think of the 2 goals from Nieuwendyk.
All I can think of is those goals when I think of it.
The exact same one.
The 5-hole. Who was it?
It wasn't even 5. It was Nieuwendyk, and it wasn't even 5-hole. It was just like through his chest. It was the weirdest goals.
And if you're the Ottawa Senators, you're on that bench, and you're watching through your gloves.
Yeah.
You're done. You're absolutely done.
And it's actually a good reflection of how people will look back on these Leafs teams if they don't win. They'll say, God, those were talented teams. Or, there'll be some affection from the fans. God, those were good teams. They just couldn't get it done. That's like the best case scenario if you don't win a round or two.
And not to put more pressure on Jack Campbell, but
don't be Patrick Lalime.
Exactly.
Patrick Lalime was unbelievable in the regular season.
I was a big Marvin the Martian fan.
So he was like a Vezina candidate goaltender. He was so good.
Are you now, if you're Sheldon Keefe now, is there enough in these 4 games to really build a little bit more up for him personally, or for the players, or for the fans, or for yourself? Or are you just now at the point where let's roll the dice with Jack in game 1?
That's it, bud. Throw it out there. Jack knows he's the guy.
I think there's still some meat on the bone here.
To what?
Just pitching a shutout.
Yeah.
Stopping 35 of 36. I don't know. 42 of 43.
Yeah.
Something more. Just another where he's
something him to think about.
He's moving well. He's just kind of a few consecutive good games now going in. Or do you not care?
Somebody just texted in. Sens fan, he says. Lalime was hurt. You guys are right, though.
Let me defend my team, but also a good point.
He's like, you're bang on.
Lalime was out with a sore coach.
Yeah. This last question I had maybe a little bit too big picture for
end of day Friday.
End of day. But did last night's loss give the Leafs more demons heading into round 1?
I think they hid behind excuses last night. Matthews
and
out, Campbell's
that was
not
from Susie
in.
Q.
Yeah.
To me, it's there's too many excuses for them to take last night too personally. No Muzz, no Matthews.
Yeah,
no
I agree
Campbell.
with that. And you're talking about the middle of your ice. You're talking about 3 of your best players up the middle of the ice, from the net out to your number one shutdown guy in Muzzin to your number one centerman, Austin Matthews. That's significant. And I know Point was out too. I get it. He is in many ways equally as dangerous in the playoffs, historically one of the best now in history, modern day.
He in playoffs. So Kyper and I were talking about this at break. He has 0.88 points per game in the regular season, 1.09 points per game in the playoffs. Braden Point. Braden Point has like 75 points in 68 playoff games. How old is he? 20 something?
How did he go in this? He was a second rounder, right?
At least, yeah.
Second or third?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy.
The one thing between Matthews and Campbell, does Muzzin come in, and does he come in and find his game? Boys, I don't know.
I'm most worried about Muzzin. Of those 3 names,
I
by
don't.
far.
I look at that blue line last night,
Matthews.
and it does not match up well against Tampa's blue line.
yeah. You know, once you put Muzzin in and you bump one of Hall, Liljegren. By the way, Hall. You know, I know you guys said you'd have Hall out when I said Liljegren or Lyubushkin, and I'd keep Hall in. Hall did not do himself any favors last night. God, the one turnover, he's got both his hands at the top of the stick, like not leaning on it
Try
at
to
all.
push it out with a backhand.
The whole thing was like sweeping.
We
with
got
a
a very relevant text for that. Great show, guys. Does Justin Hall ever throw a body check, or is he just on the lease for his goal scoring ability?
Hey, Justin Hall, if I'm not mistaken, is your biggest defenseman.
Yeah, by
is he not?
height. Yes.
Okay, but so what is bigger? Height.
Well,
right?
Width?
No, well, sure.
Right?
Jake Muzzin's a bigger guy. He's 6'2", 220 or whatever. Is bigger than Justin Hall at 6'3", 114.
But the perception of your biggest guy is usually your tallest guy.
Well, then you got Engvall, Mikheyev. They got a bunch of tall, lean guys who don't want to fight you. They're tall.
But I'm talking about the blue line.
Okay.
I am specifically talking about your blue line.
Yes.
Where you got 6'6", 6'4", 6'3" out of Sergachev.
Yeah, Tampa's D are huge. They're huge compared to every team.
Huge.
Yeah.
But you need Hall to don't play 6'4", but play 6'3" or 6'2.5". Don't play 5'10".
Yeah. You know, I think when he's playing really well, he does that thing where players are going down his side and he gets his stick in and rubs them out and eliminates the play. He's not ever. You're never going to see him on a highlight reel blowing a guy out. Never.
Okay, Sammy.
Yeah.
Prediction time against the Florida Panthers.
11-9.
11-9.
I was going to say 15-14 Leafs.
15. Is Austin playing? Does Austin get to 70 Saturday night?
I don't know if Austin plays on Saturday
Austin's
night.
playing Saturday.
All right. It was a short week, but a good one, I would say. Our
Great
thanks.
Stanley Cup in the house.
Our thanks to Lord Stanley, Doug Mclean, Aaron Ward, and Randy Banks. Sammy, you golfing again tomorrow? Do
Sunday.
I lose my invitation again?
Sunday.
All right, Sunday. And we're back Monday. Looking forward to it, inching ever so close to the Stanley Cup
games this
playoffs.
weekend.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're back on Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne.